as well as making sure that we've got the boat seaworthy, we need to make sure that all this safety equipment that you personally use on board is up to scratch as well. And the first item is the life jacket, or you could potentially use a buoyancy aid. This, in this example, has a built-in harness, so for when you're going offshore you'd need to have a harness and a harness line to connect onto a safety line that would be on board the boat. And this has a mechanism in it which is self-inflating. As and when you fall in the water, it will have a gas canister which has got a water activating switch, which would basically switch the gas canister to inflate their life jacket and would therefore keep you safe and float when you fell in the water. If you have a buoyancy aid or a life jacket that doesn't have a self-inflating thing, then a buoyancy aid will have enough foam in it to be supporting you in the water. And the other method is a toggle that you pull on the life jacket, similar to what you'd see on an aircraft safety demonstration, to make sure that the life jacket inflated. The next item we have as a piece of safety equipment is the flare. As and when we end up in difficulty on board the boat, then we need to be able to notify the support services, and this would be done in this example by a set of handheld flare that would produce a coloured gas that would basically signify where you are from quite a long distance away, and you'd be able to see from back on land when you are, say, out several miles offshore. Really important that we check the date on this on a regular basis so that we can make sure that it is in date, and any that are out of date we need to dispose of appropriately and not just throw on a fire and let go off. The next item, binoculars. Really important so we can keep good vantage points known and in location on our passage to and from the harbour to a new mooring location, and they need to be robust enough to be able to be used in fairly harsh sailing conditions, and obviously waterproof. Next item is torch, new batteries, and then a set of spare batteries on board the boat so that you can make sure that you've always know that you've got the ability to have good strong light source when you end up in a position of not being able to see anything downstairs, looking around on the engine, or equally in the pitch black up on deck if you have an issue with anything on deck. Then in case you end up with any ropes wrapped around the propeller, we need to have a good mask and a snorkel so that potentially you can go down and unwrap any lines from the propeller, which is under the back of the boat. And then more into some avoiding any fire issues. Good, powerful fire extinguisher that can put out fires that would be more galley or engine orientated, and this particular one is a powder fire extinguisher. But again, we need to double check on the item for a date of last service and a renewal date for when it needs to be checked again. And really lastly is then a first aid kit. Every boat should have a good first aid kit, and the first aid kit needs to include obviously plasters for patching up any little cuts and grazes, through to then rehydration of drink mix so that we can keep people rehydrated, say they get sick and they need to have some rehydration, and then some bandages, a sling for in case anybody ends up with any arm injuries that we need to strap up, and then also some sterile wipes and dressings so that we can patch up or clean anybody up if they end up with any wounds that they've had as a result of hitting something on the boat. The life raft's an important piece of equipment on the boat, and we need to make sure that A, it's in date, and B, that it's been regularly serviced. It's going to be needed in a time of emergency, and it needs to be easily accessible on board, and will function appropriately and properly as and when it's required. In the event of a man overboard situation, then we'd be using the life ring and then also this dam buoy. And the dam buoy gets thrown as just at the same time as the life ring to the person that falls in the water, and then that makes it easy for us to spot the person before we then come back around to come and collect them out of the water.
Using huge tips, you should be able to get back on the water successfully, but more importantly, safely. In addition to these tips, you should also consider your insurance cover, specifically cruising ranges. What are you using the car for example racing, and are the sums insured adequate? For more information, type in Towergate Insurance into any search engine. Thank you for watching.